Pause for a moment and give me your complete attention, because what I'm about to share has the power to reshape your entire existence. This is not just another motivational talk you'll hear and forget. This is a wake-up call that will either ignite transformation within you or, if ignored, keep you trapped in the exact same cycle for the next decade. Just a few days ago, I saw a man desperately trying to explain himself for almost half an hour to someone who had no respect for him, no care for his words, and no genuine intention of listening. He was pouring out his energy, pleading for understanding from a person who did not even deserve a second of his time. Sadly, I realized this wasn't just about him. This is happening everywhere. These types of men are all around us. Maybe you've already noticed them. Maybe you've even been one of them. Maybe, deep down, you recognize parts of yourself in that story. The frustration of being unseen, the pain of being underestimated, the quiet resentment of being treated as though your voice doesn't matter. If that sounds familiar, then understand this: you were not born lacking confidence. No one comes into this world apologizing for their existence. Confidence was stripped away from you, not by accident, but by deliberate conditioning. You were trained to play small, to fit in, to obey. Society designed you to be predictable, easy to control, and simple to manage. But true greatness, true authority, true influence does not come from being manageable. It comes from breaking that invisible chain and reclaiming the power that was always yours. Centuries ago, a man uncovered the reality behind power, respect, and dominance. He was not seduced by the shallow advice that the world preaches. Smile more, be nice, never make waves. Instead, he pulled back the curtain and exposed the real operating principles of strength and success. His name was Machiavelli, and he wrote the guidebook for becoming untouchable, for rising above the masses, for stepping into the role of someone who cannot be silenced. When I talk about becoming unstoppable, I'm talking about transforming into the man who enters a room and immediately shifts the atmosphere. I'm talking about the man who doesn't need to raise his voice twice because people listen the first time. The one whose presence alone demands acknowledgement, whose boundaries are not crossed because they are recognized as unbreakable. That's the type of man who cannot be manipulated, cannot be intimidated, cannot be ignored. A man who naturally commands respect not because he begs for it, but because he radiates it. This man lives by rules unfamiliar to most, because he is operating on a higher frequency altogether. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you principles that will elevate you from the shadow of being overlooked into the spotlight of being noticed, from being a seeker of approval into someone who commands authority, from hoping things work out into preparing for inevitable victory. But let me warn you, once you grasp these truths, you cannot unlearn them. Once you see how influence and power actually work, your old self dies. Once you become unstoppable, the version of you that was once stoppable can never return. And before we move forward, I want you to declare something with conviction. Say it to yourself, write it down, drop it in the comments if you must. I refuse to be held back. I refuse to be stopped. Because this is where your journey begins. Principle number 1, transformation starts within. Right now, inside every man, 2 versions are battling for dominance. One is uncertain, timid, and constantly apologizing, desperate to be liked. The other is decisive, self-assured, and respected without needing to ask. Every single day, with every decision you make, you are feeding one and starving the other. The version you strengthen becomes the one that guides your life. Today, we starve the weak one and feed the powerful one. Understand this: the timid version of you was built by outside influences. That voice in your head telling you to stay quiet when someone disrespects you, that compulsion to apologize when you did absolutely nothing wrong, that urge to explain yourself endlessly to people who don't even deserve a fraction of your explanation. None of that is natural. It was planted there. It began in childhood. Parents, even with good intentions, wanted you to be obedient. Teachers wanted you to be manageable. Society wanted you to be agreeable. But manageable men do not create history. Manageable men do not build empires. Manageable men are forgotten. And that uncertain self, that obedient self, has been making decisions on your behalf for far too long. That is why you allow disrespect without consequence. That is why you forgive without standards. That is why you put everyone's needs above your own. That is why, instead of living the life you dream of, you're still searching for scraps of validation from people who don't even value themselves. Here's the brutal truth your uncertain self doesn't want you to know. Every time you're excessively kind to someone who disrespects you, you are committing cruelty against yourself. Every time you allow someone to step over your boundaries, you are training them to believe those boundaries never mattered in the first place. Every time you explain yourself to people unworthy of explanation, you strip your own power. Machiavelli said it best. He who is not master of himself will always be a servant of others. That is the battlefield inside you. You must learn the language of the weak self versus the strong self. The weak one whispers, "I don't want to hurt their feelings." The strong one replies, "I don't compromise my standards." The weak one says, "Maybe I misunderstood." The strong one responds, "My instincts are my compass, and I trust them." The weak one hopes for acceptance. The strong one creates respect. This is where transformation begins. When you recognize that choosing to live as the weak self is not kindness, it is betrayal of yourself. And the world does not honor those who betray themselves. Look around. The men who are remembered, the ones whose names echo through history, were not the men who apologized for their existence. They were the men who defined it. They were not manageable. They were undeniable. And so must you be. If you continue to live as the uncertain self, your life will be filled with the same patterns. Overlooked, disregarded, used. But if you decide, truly decide, to starve the weak self and feed the powerful one, then everything changes. You will no longer explain yourself unnecessarily. You will no longer give endless chances to people who only drain you. You will no longer sacrifice your own respect for the sake of shallow approval. Instead, you will embody the man who commands respect naturally, who sets standards that others aspire to reach, who does not bend to every opinion but creates his own gravity. Transformation is not instant, but it is inevitable when you commit. Every small choice is a battle. When someone crosses you, will you stay silent, or will you enforce your boundary? When someone undervalues you, will you shrink, or will you stand firm? These daily choices either keep you trapped or push you forward. And understand this, every time you feed the strong self, every time you act in alignment with your higher standard, you carve a new identity. Soon, people will not even recognize the old version of you. And that is exactly the point, so ask yourself now. Are you willing to keep being the man who explains, apologizes, and accepts less than he deserves? Or are you ready to become the man who is noticed the moment he enters a room, who commands attention without raising his voice, who respects himself so deeply that the world has no choice but to follow? The decision is yours, but the opportunity is right now. The first step begins with starving the uncertain self and feeding the unstoppable one. And once you take that step, there is no turning back. Your strong self speaks with clarity and certainty, saying, "I understood everything, and I have no interest in pretending otherwise." Your weaker self whispers, "Maybe they deserve one more chance." But your strong self already knows the truth. Opportunities have limits, and once someone wastes theirs, they have shown you exactly who they are. Understand this. Reshaping your inner world doesn't mean waging war against yourself. It means making deliberate, calculated choices. Every time someone dares to test the limits you've set, the uncertain voice inside you urges you to justify your reasons, to explain endlessly why those boundaries exist. But the voice of strength does not explain, it enforces. Every time you are disrespected, the timid self wants to rationalize why it happened, searching for reasons in their behavior. But the confident self doesn't waste time with analysis. It responds firmly, directly, and decisively. Whenever someone squanders your time, the weak self invents excuses for them, shielding them from accountability. The strong self, however, knows that time is sacred, more valuable than money, and it guards every second like treasure. You must begin to notice which voice governs your daily decisions. When you find yourself apologizing for mistakes you never made, that is not humility. It is your weaker self chasing acceptance. When you're tempted to defend yourself to someone who should be apologizing to you, that is not maturity. It is your uncertain self begging for validation. The transformation of this inner world cannot be fueled by hate, because hate ties you to weakness. The change must come through choice, and the choice is always there. Will you choose strength or seek approval? Will you value respect over being liked? Will you pursue influence over popularity? The uncertain self will not surrender easily. It will remind you of the relationships you may lose. It will replay moments when you tried to be firm but stumbled. It will whisper lies that having influence makes you arrogant, cold, or unkind. Let it resist. Let it complain. Let it tremble. Because on the other side of its collapse, a new version of you emerges, the man who takes up space unapologetically, who refuses to waste energy explaining himself to people beneath his mission, who never begs for respect because respect flows naturally toward him. This is the man you are building. The weak self must fade. The strong self must rise. Influence must become your standard. Say it aloud. Engrave it into your identity. My uncertain self is fading. My confident self is awakening. And once that foundation is laid, the next step is inevitable. You must construct the fortress mind. Your mind can either be your most powerful weapon or the heaviest chain around your neck. For most men, it is chaos. Every criticism slices them open. Every failure feels like a personal curse. Every challenge sparks fear and paralysis. This storm of emotion keeps them stuck, unable to rise. But today, you will begin building something different. A mind like stone walls and iron gates. A fortress no storm can penetrate. A fortress that does not crumble when someone mocks you, criticizes you, or betrays you. A fortress mind does not interpret life emotionally. It interprets strategically. When someone throws an insult, a fragile mind cries or lashes out. A fortress mind doesn't get wounded. It gathers information. It sees insults not as daggers, but as mirrors reflecting the insulter's character. When someone fails you, a weak mind feels crushed. A fortress mind isn't shocked. It sees confirmation of what it already sensed. That person was unreliable from the start. The majority of men live enslaved to their feelings. Anger drags them into impulsive mistakes. Hurt drives them into weakness. Fear chains them to inaction. Their emotions are wild, untrained horses pulling them in every direction. But the fortress mind holds the reins. Emotions are no longer masters. They are messengers. Anger becomes a signal. A line has been crossed. Pain becomes data. A person has revealed their truth. Fear becomes a compass. Growth is near. You must stop treating every experience as a personal attack. When someone lies to you, it's not evidence of your stupidity. It's evidence of their dishonor. When someone tries to manipulate you, it's not proof of your weakness. It's proof of their desperation. Do not make everything about you. Start seeing it for what it really is, information about others. Machiavelli once taught, "A wise man acts in the present, shaping the future." The fortress mind takes this truth seriously. It does not waste time crying over obstacles. It anticipates them. Not because it is cynical, but because it is prepared. With preparation, setbacks lose their sting. Disappointment becomes expected, which makes victory even sweeter. Begin training your mind to see patterns, not isolated incidents. That colleague who lied to you once, that is not a one-time accident. It is a sign of unreliability. That friend who constantly gossips about others, you can be certain they gossip about you as well. Start collecting these data points and assembling them into a larger picture. Do not excuse red flags. Do not ignore patterns. The fortress mind does not cling to illusions. It does not hope people will change. It accepts them as they are and responds strategically. This is the difference between the man who lives in chaos and the man who builds an empire. And remember, your fortress mind isn't built in a single day. Every challenge is a brick. Every criticism is another stone added to the wall. Every betrayal strengthens the gates. You are not here to live at the mercy of others' actions. You are here to rule yourself first so that no one else can. Once your mind becomes a fortress, you stop reacting, you start governing. You stop stumbling through emotions, you start directing them. And when that happens, no insult, no rejection, no manipulation can topple you. You will be unshakable. That individual who once disrespected you when they thought you wouldn't push back. Believe me, they'll repeat it if you allow them the chance. People don't change their behavior simply because you hope they will. They repeat patterns until you demand otherwise. This is why your fortress mind must treat every moment, every exchange, as an opportunity to learn. Each conversation is a mirror reflecting human nature. Every interaction exposes what truly matters to the other person. Each disagreement reveals who genuinely supports you and who only pretends to. This is not about being paranoid, it's about being perceptive. Emotional intelligence means you don't react blindly. You study. The next time anger surges inside you, pause and ask, what is this emotion teaching me about this situation? When pain hits, don't drown in it. Analyze it. What recurring theme is showing itself here? When worry creeps in, look deeper. What fear is this really pointing me toward? A fortress mind does not reject emotions. It refines them. You still feel the sting of insult, the heat of anger, the weight of disappointment. But these feelings no longer hijack your decisions. Instead of emotions driving the car, logic takes the wheel. Strategy sets the direction. Influence decides the destination. Most men crumble under even the smallest pressure. Their thoughts fracture at the first insult. Their decisions collapse at the first setback. But you are building something different. You are building mental walls so strong that storms rage outside but never shake the structure within. This is what it means to create a fortress mind. You will not become cold, you will become unshakable. And when the foundation is complete, external chaos cannot disturb your inner clarity. Say it and believe it. My mind is fortified. My thoughts are my weapons. The next step is mastering silence, the art very few men understand. Look closely. The man who constantly fills the room with words is usually the weakest of all. He shouts because he's nervous. He explains endlessly because he's uncertain. He argues because he cannot tolerate being ignored. But you will not walk that path. You will learn that silence is the purest display of confidence. When you stop defending yourself unnecessarily, something fascinating happens. People begin to respect you more. They stop questioning your every move. They stop poking at your limits. They begin to treat you as someone who carries hidden depth, someone who knows what others don't. And the truth is, you do. You understand that your worth is not tied to their approval. You realize you owe no one an explanation for your standards, your decisions, or your boundaries. Every time you explain yourself to those who challenge you, you hand them authority over your life. Think about the most powerful people you know. Do they waste time justifying every move? Do they argue with everyone who disagrees? Or do they make decisions and let the results speak for themselves? Real influence doesn't come from endless words. It comes from decisive silence. Machiavelli himself noted, "The lion doesn't roar to earn respect. Silence itself inspires intrigue. When others cannot read you, they project power onto you. They assume you're calculating. They imagine you're preparing something greater than they can see. And without you asking for it, they give you influence you never claimed. But silence alone is not enough. When you do speak, your words must strike like arrows. Selective speech means every phrase carries weight. Because you don't waste words, people hang on to the ones you do say. Because you aren't busy defending yourself, your statements stand unchallenged. Start practicing strategic silence immediately. When someone accuses you of nonsense, don't rush into defense. Simply observe them with composure. When someone demands answers they have no right to, don't justify yourself. Say no with finality. When someone stirs drama to provoke you, don't play their game, walk away. Watch how quickly the balance shifts. People who are addicted to your emotional reactions will panic when you no longer feed their addiction. They will either escalate until they expose their true nature or retreat in confusion. Either outcome benefits you. Silence is not emptiness, it is control. It shields you from reckless words you might regret, from arguments that steal your energy, from traps designed to drag you down. Countless men have destroyed opportunities, burned bridges, or ruined reputations with words they couldn't take back. The man of silence never suffers this fate. He chooses words with precision. He stays quiet when quiet is power. He never arms his enemies with his own tongue. Let others fill the air with meaningless chatter. You will fill the room with presence. Let them waste their strength on arguments. You will conserve yours for decisive actions. Silent men hold influence not because they are intimidating, but because they are unpredictable. No one knows what they are thinking. No one can guess their next move. No one can tell when they will strike. This mystery breeds respect, even fear, and that respect becomes your shield. Your silence becomes your weapon. Let people wonder. Let them speculate. Let them respect what they cannot easily decode. Say it now. My silence is louder than their noise. And now comes the truth that will spare you endless frustration. Setbacks are inevitable, and betrayal is unavoidable. People will disappoint you. Friends you trusted will choose convenience over loyalty. Business partners will place profit above partnership. Allies you counted on will vanish when the pressure rises. This is not cynicism, it is reality. Once you learn to accept the reality of human behavior, disappointment stops crushing you because you expect it before it arrives. Most men crumble because they cling to illusions. They believe people are better than they are, trust without observing, and confuse politeness with true integrity. When the mask drops, they break apart, obsess over why it happened, and waste months replaying conversations. But not you. You'll see disappointment as data, a clear picture of who people really are when pressure strips away their performance. Every letdown is a lesson in human nature, a chance to sharpen your awareness, and a gift of clarity. Machiavelli reminded us that men are self-serving and unpredictable, and the wise man plans accordingly, never putting his future in another's hands, always preparing for shifting loyalties. Disappointment, then, isn't weakness, it's proof you're moving upward. People only betray those above them, those who hold value, those becoming successful. Treat it like a badge. When it arrives, respond with strategy, not wounded pride. Cut off toxic people cleanly, no drama. Or wait patiently, storing what you've learned until the right moment lets you use their own flaws against them. Let disappointment shape you into someone independent, cautious, and untouchable. Men who endure betrayal and keep rising become sharper, stronger, unstoppable. And when you've been abandoned yet you keep advancing, when you've been let down by all yet still refuse to break, you've crossed from naive to unshakable. That's the moment you know disappointment has turned into fuel. Now comes the next step. Silencing your critics, not with explanations but with undeniable results. Weak men defend themselves with arguments, wasting breath on people who were never going to respect them anyway. You'll take the higher ground, outperform so completely that critics choke on their own words. Your results will outshine their doubts. Your success will expose their emptiness. Every hour spent debating haters is time stolen from building your empire. Let your victories roar where your voice stays silent. Let your growth be the only rebuttal. Over time, critics don't disappear. They transform into something else. Envious spectators who secretly respect what they can't match. Excellence leaves no room for argument. Achieve so visibly that their judgment fades into jealousy, and jealousy becomes proof you've already won. Your critics will always exist. There will always be people who misunderstand your methods, question your choices, and doubt your abilities. This isn't a problem to fix. It's a truth to accept. Let criticism fuel your drive, not validate your worth. When someone tells you you can't, let that ignite your determination to prove it through action, not argument. When they question your approach, let your results do the talking. When they doubt your potential, let your achievements demonstrate it. The goal isn't to convince everyone you're right. It's to become so undeniably successful that arguing becomes pointless. Let your excellence silence the noise. Let your accomplishments make envy obvious. And let your consistent results make doubt irrelevant. Stop wasting energy defending yourself against people who will never respect you and focus on excelling in areas where respect is earned through performance. Control your reputation deliberately. Every person you meet forms an impression in seconds, and that shapes how they treat you. Influence through presence, energy, and consistency. Speak less, reveal less, and let your actions do the heavy lifting. Stand, walk, and sit with authority. Be calm in chaos, steady when others panic, and consistent under pressure. Protect your boundaries, show competence, and let excellence define you. Your reputation is your weapon, your presence your shield, and your character your most powerful asset. Build it, guard it, and leverage it strategically. Excellence isn't occasional, it's daily discipline. The invisible actions, the small choices, the consistent habits form the foundation of greatness. Wake up early, do the hard work, keep your promises, and push through discomfort. Comfort breeds mediocrity. Discipline breeds power. Those who ridicule your intensity will be the first to seek your guidance when their lax habits fail. Let them settle for easy. You choose effective, enduring strength. And now you become unstoppable. Nothing external can shake your inner peace. Criticism, disappointment, and challenges are powerless against a mind forged in discipline, self-reliance, and strategic action. You care, but you are independent. You love, but you are complete without validation. You connect, but you don't depend on approval. You operate from abundance, not scarcity. You decide who enters your world, who influences your choices, and who earns your energy. The world will test you. People will push boundaries, and old habits will try to pull you back. Stand firm. You are no longer the man who is pushed around or ignored. You are the man whose presence commands attention. You no longer seek respect, you claim it. You no longer react to circumstances, you shape them to serve your vision. Your uncertain self is transformed. Your mind is a fortress. Your silence is strategic. Your setbacks are fuel. Your reputation is intact. Your daily discipline is unshakable. You are unstoppable. Your influence transcends words. Your strength is absolute. And your victory was sealed the moment you chose transformation over comfort. The world is waiting. Stop asking permission. Stop waiting for opportunities. Stop hoping for what you can seize yourself. You are unbreakable. You are unbending. You are unstoppable. This is your moment, your influence, your time. Go claim everything.